You ever find yourself just falling down some random rabbit hole, learning about, I don't know, the history of sporks or something, and you think, when am I ever going to use this? Well, what if I told you that all that useless knowledge might actually be your secret superpower? Let's get into it.
I mean, it's a fascinating question, right? You see these super innovative people, and they seem to know a little bit about everything. It kind of goes against everything we're told about specializing, doesn't it? But what if there's a real method to all that madness?
And that leads us right into this really cool idea, the useless knowledge paradox. It's this wild, counterintuitive thought that the most valuable stuff we learn is often the stuff we learned with absolutely no goal in mind.
Think about it. From the time we're kids, it's all about study for the test, learn this skill to get that job. Everything has to have a point, an outcome. But this paradox, it points to a totally different way of thinking. It's about just learning for the fun of it, Just following your curiosity and trusting that somehow, someday, it's going to pay off when you least expect it.
Okay, so how does this actually work? Well, every time you learn something new and seemingly random, you're basically adding a book to this incredible, invisible library inside your head. And this library, it actually has a name.
It's called latent knowledge. And latent just means it's kind of hidden or not being used yet. This is all that stuff you pick up from articles, documentaries, late-night conversations, information that doesn't have an immediate use. It's just sitting there, being stored, waiting for its moment to shine.
Here's a great way to think about it. Imagine you're stocking a pantry. You're not just buying ingredients for tonight's dinner, no. You're filling it with all sorts of interesting spices, different kinds of flours, weird sauces. You don't know what you're going to cook tomorrow or next week, but you're gathering all these amazing ingredients so that when inspiration strikes, you've got everything you need right at your fingertips.
All right, so you've got this incredible, well-stocked mental pantry. But just having a pantry full of ingredients, that doesn't make a meal, right? You need a chef. You need something to actually combine all those ingredients. And that, well, that's the next crucial piece of the puzzle. And that's where something called associative memory comes in. This is your brain's almost magical ability to connect two totally separate ideas. It's the web that links everything in that mental pantry of yours. See, it's not just about remembering facts in isolation, it's about connecting them in new and surprising ways. Okay, let me give you a real-world example of how this works. Let's say years ago you got really into a documentary about Roman aqueducts. Totally useless knowledge, right? Then one day you're at work, you're wrestling with some complex supply chain problem, and suddenly, click. Your brain connects that random fact about ancient Roman logistics to a brilliant solution for your modern business problem. That's associative memory in action.
So we've got the library, our latent knowledge, and we've got the engine, our associative memory. Now, when those two things come together, something incredible happens. You get that spark, that aha moment.
And there's a name for this, too. It's called cross-domain synthesis. Let's break that down. Cross-domain just means pulling ideas from totally different areas. And synthesis is just a fancy word for combining them to make something brand new. This is that aha moment. This is where real innovation is born.
And this is a really important point. We're not just talking about remembering a fact, like pulling a file out of a cabinet. No, this is about taking two completely different files, say one about how termite mounds stay cool and another about architecture, and smashing them together to create a brand new idea, like a self-cooling building. That's the leap. You go from being a library to being an inventor.
Okay, so let's just run through the whole process one more time. Step 1, you follow your curiosity and learn a random fact. Step 2, that fact gets stored away as latent knowledge. Step 3, your associative memory works its magic and forms a link. And finally, step 4, bam! Cross-domain synthesis sparks a totally new insight. And that is how useless knowledge becomes maybe the most powerful tool you have.
So what's the big picture here? What does this all mean for you and me? Why does any of this matter? Well, it's about completely reframing how we think about learning. It's not a waste of time to be curious. It's an investment in your future self.
And here's the bottom line. Every single time you let yourself be curious, you're building this invisible advantage. You're giving the future version of you more ingredients for the pantry, more dots to connect, more fuel for that next big aha moment. And the best part? You can never predict which piece of useless knowledge is going to be the one that unlocks your next big breakthrough.
You know, the source for this whole explainer has this perfect quote, and I really want this to sink in. It says, "Nothing you learn is wasted. It's future pattern fuel."
Just think about that. Every rabbit hole, every random fact, it's all just fuel for your brain's amazing pattern-matching engine.
So I'm going to leave you with a question. Forget about productivity for a second. Forget about what's useful. Just follow what genuinely makes you curious. What useless thing are you going to allow yourself to learn today? Because honestly, you just never know when that little piece of information might become the most useful thing you've ever learned.